Hello, friends. Today, we're going to talk about the novel A Court of Thorns and Roses. Firstly, this is a young adult romance fantasy novel written by Sarah J. Maas. It was published in 2015, and since then it has been followed by 4 more novels and a novella. The series is called A Court of Thorns and Roses, and we will be talking about all 5 novels in this series today. So if you have not read any of them yet, or maybe just remember vaguely what they were about, this video might help to refresh your memory. And at the end of the video, you can also let me know in the comments which of these books you would like me to read next. Now let's get into the plot summaries. The first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, is about Feyre, who lives with her family in poverty. One day, while hunting to get food for her family, she kills a wolf in the woods, but instead of finding a rabbit or some other animal that could feed her family, she finds a handsome fairy man with the same markings as the wolf. After killing him, she learns from her catch that he was a fairy and that he had been sent to spy on her family. So because she killed him, his queen would now come to demand retribution. But before Faye could do anything about it, the queen showed up with an army and demanded that she come live in the magical land of Prythian as compensation for killing her soldier. Feyre did not want to go there, so she argued with the queen, Tamlin, and eventually she threw a knife at her. To her surprise, though, the knife hit one of Tamlin's friends, Lucian, instead of Tamlin himself, and she was taken away by the queen. While traveling to Spring Court, where Tamlin lived, Faye met a few other characters, including a grumpy but hot guy named Rhysand. Once they arrived at the Spring Court, Tamlin revealed to Faye that he had been cursed by the Weaver, a powerful and cruel woman who ruled the Autumn Court. He told Faye that the only way to break the curse was to find a way to make her fall in love with him. But he warned her that if she didn't do it in time, the curse would consume him completely and he would turn into a monster. Over the course of the story, Feyre develops feelings for both Tamlin and Lucian. She chose to stay with Tamlin, though, even though she knew that he was being consumed by the curse, slowly but surely. Ultimately, the Weaver came to collect on Tamlin and Feyre's bargain, but she ended up sacrificing herself to save Tamlin instead. After defeating the Weaver, Tamlin was finally able to change back to his human form, and Feyre discovered that she was actually the same kind of fairy that he was. Together, they broke the curse over his court and his people, and Feyre returned home. However, the ending leaves things open for a sequel, and that is exactly what we got with the second novel, A Court of Mist and Fury. This novel takes place 1 year after the events of the first book, and it starts off with Faye being held captive by the enigmatic High Lord of the Night Court, Rhysand. It turns out that he was the one who put Faye in this position, though, because he wanted to rescue her from the toxic relationship she was in with Tamlin. Over time, she began to heal from her trauma thanks to Rhysand and his friends, Amren and Cassian. Eventually, though, Tamlin came to Rhysand's court to demand that Faye come back to him, but he refused to let this happen. Instead, he took Faye to Velaris, the beautiful night capital, and she began to learn more about her powers and who she really was. There was still some bad news, though, as it turned out that Hybern, the evil king of the Autumn Court, had come to wage war against the Night Court. In order to protect Velaris and its people, Rhysand and his allies went to war with Hybern and his army. In the meantime, Faye began to train and grow more confident in her abilities as a High Fae. Eventually, Ryland and his army came back to Velaris, and they celebrated their victory over Hybern. Things did not last long, though, because soon Hybern returned with more soldiers, and this time he took Faye captive and brought her to the Autumn Court. Fortunately for Faye, though, Rhysand came to rescue her again, and together they defeated Hybern once and for all. After Hybern was gone, Rhysand and Faye were finally able to consummate their relationship, and they became mates. At the end of the book, it's revealed that Feyre is pregnant with their child, and the two of them are set to take over the Night Court. So that's where we leave off with Book 2. The third novel, A Court of Wings and Ruin, is where things start to get really serious. We get a lot more insight into Feyre's past and how she became such a powerful ruler. The story begins with Feyre and Rhys preparing for war against Hybern's brother, Eris, who has taken over the Autumn Court since Hybern's death. It becomes clear pretty quickly, though, that they are outnumbered and will need help from the other courts if they hope to win. This proves difficult, though, because Feyre and Rhys are still not trusted by everyone. But even if they had the support of everyone, it wouldn't matter because Hybern's sister, the Weaver, was planning something big. With the help of her allies, she planned to use a magical cauldron to kill every fairy in Prythian. Fortunately for everyone, Feyre and Rhys were able to stop her plan and win the war against the Autumn Court. Afterwards, Feyre made peace with her sister Nesta, and she also decided to keep her mate bond with her human love interest from the first book, Tamlin. So yes, she ends up with 2 mates by the end of this novel. And then that brings us to the 4th book, A Court of Frost and Starlight. This novel is a bit different from the others because it takes place during a truce between all of the courts. It's mostly about healing and recovering from the events of the previous book. For example, Feyre and Rhys are trying to rebuild the Night Court after the damages done to it during war. And we also see that Nesta is trying to come to terms with the fact that she is a High Fae. We also see that Feyre is heavily pregnant with her and Rhys's baby, and she gives birth to twins at the end of this novel. Then that brings us to the 5th and final book, A Court of Silver Flames. This novel is Nesta's story, and it begins with her training to become stronger and more powerful. Throughout the story, we learn more about her traumatic past and how it has affected her. We also see that she has a mate, and his name is Cassian, who is one of the most loyal and lovable characters in the entire series. But he wasn't always so loyal. In fact, in the previous book, he almost left the Night Court to go fight in the war. But Feyre saved him from doing so, and he remained by her side. But anyway, Nesta and Cassian eventually admit their feelings for each other and become mates. Also, if you remember from the last book, Feyre had a twin sister named Elaine. Well, this book is actually about her too, because she has a mate named Lucian. Yes, Lucian from the first book. But yeah, there's not much else to say about her story, so basically this wraps up the series. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment below telling me which of these books you would like me to read next. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.